So, Twisted Glass Podcast.
This is Twisted Glass Productions.
Number 2.
Numero dos.
This is an actual episode, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. Austin came up with the idea. What is it?
It's aliens and supernatural shit.
Freaky shit.
Freaky shit. And
Freaky deaky shit.
We're going to freaky deaky?
Freaky
We're going to go
deaky
freaky
shit.
deaky. It's John, by the way.
Howie.
And Austin. And it works because we're in New Mexico where aliens and freaky shit happens.
All the time. Supernatural, specifically.
Not the show, the phenomenon.
No, yeah, true. But
Was there an episode of Supernatural? No, they never came to New
they
Mexico.
never came to New Mexico, I don't think.
They should.
They would have... Well, there's the... Do we have Wendigos here, or is that somewhere else?
They're skinwalkers.
Well, there's skinwalkers. But do we have Wendigo?
Possibly I have to go talk to my Navajo friends.
Okay. You have those?
And my Apache friends, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a huge, giant
It's a
fucking
human
monster.
spirit that consumed human meat. And because of that, it was cursed and took the form of an animal, demon.
They believe in Bigfoot.
Typically with a...
Sasquatch.
Yeah, like up in Ruidoso area, a lot of people say like they see him up there.
Or C1.
Or C1,
Yeah, it's just
whatever.
because of drugs.
They say, well,
I like how all the really touristy spots of New Mexico are all like, yeah, that place is amazing, from all the people that are not from there. And then the people that are from there, they're like, there's drugs everywhere. And those people who go and visit, they're like, there's no drugs anywhere. And you go and show them where the drugs are, and then they go, there are drugs everywhere. But it's still really nice, because there's trees and stuff.
That's typically what a Wendigo looks like. Typically.
oh. It's like Slenderman with those animal skull.
Yeah, but
With
it
like
can also...
a deer
It
head.
mimics human voice. That's really fucking smart and fast. Trap you and eat you.
Oh, that's
So
scary.
that's terrifying in every way, shape, or form. Skinwalkers, a lot of people don't like to talk about skinwalkers because talking about them gives them power if you're out at night and shit like that.
Skinwalkers.
It's a Navajo spirit. It's a native spirit, Native American spirit
They can
specifically,
turn into animals.
that can take the shape of anything animal related and then hoax you in and then eat you.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like usually those like data stories were like there was shit like fucking with my house, making these noises and stuff like that. Those are typically skinwalker stories. They're trying to lure you out and fucking.
Have you dealt with any spirits in general, like the bad kind or even the good kind?
Casper, the friendly ghost.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I'm very faith-based, so I feel like people, sometimes they leave. I don't know, like people say vibes, I guess, like vibes or like their spirit or like how it's, yeah, like their energy and stuff. I've had someone come over to my house and afterwards it was just like, my house was weird and I prayed over and stuff. When I was a kid we did some stupid crap and I've seen some things.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of it is like feelings and vibes and I guess like I can just feel things that are there. So, yeah.
There is a distinct difference between good spirits and bad spirits, I'll say. Felt both in presence of places that I've been to.
Unless they're tricky.
Well, there's that, but I'm saying like you can tell a distinct like this is a good spirit compared to this is a fucking horrible spirit.
Like the hitchhiker BA.
Yeah, that was a horrible experience. That was scary as shit, and I never want to experience that shit again. We went to...
Yeah, fuck that guy.
There was a couple of us. I don't think Austin was there.
No, I wasn't there for your experience.
You weren't there. It was me, my ex at the time. Me, my ex, the two other people. We're all driving. There was a total of 5 of us all together. And we drove down Doniana Road. And in Doniana Road specifically, there's a local wives' tale that like nobody really knows about except for select people, I guess. And it's a hitchhiker that apparently got murdered on that street or some bad shit happened to him. And he just stays stuck on that street. Whenever it gets dark, when you're driving through, you'll see him. And if he gets attached to one of the people or one of you, he lurks and follows you for like 2 to 3 weeks afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's just like looming depression, just being watched, being just hovered around. It just feels like someone's always watching you, and you have that weird sense of like paranoia.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes down to it, I was working at Denny's at the time, and we went out at night. We went and drove down the road. I pretty much was not able to see, couldn't move, any of that stuff, and I was sitting in the back seat, and everybody could point out exactly where he was at the exact same time, the exact same spot. So like, yep, he's over there on the right side of the car, the left side of the car, this or that. He's behind us, in front of us, and I couldn't see anything, like everything went black. And I got really pale, and for about 2 weeks afterwards, it was just, I felt off. Yeah. Like, super depressed, super just anxious about every little thing, and you could just feel like there was a sense of something presenting itself to you just in the area. It could be within like the range of it being across the street to in the same room as you, just right outside your window, right outside your car. Like there was no safe space in terms of that, and it was fucking terrifying. We stopped at the Circle K that was right at the end of the road of that specific street, got out, and if you looked at me in the like a before and after, you would see before I had like actual like flesh tone and all that, and then after we got out and I stood in the light, you could see that I was just pale white, like if I had like the flu. Super, super pale. My stomach was just heavy. Could finally breathe, and like then color started coming back to me. The weirdest part is that I wouldn't have felt any of that if I think the worst part about it was that I couldn't see or couldn't move. Yeah. But losing the ability to control my body, but having a sense of something being around for that duration of the drive was pretty fucking terrifying, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it gets pretty fucky.
Yeah, it does. Possession, as some people would say, is what happened. It was a little stint of it.
Yeah, when I experienced that, dude, I was driving and I lost my fucking vision.
Yeah, I think you guys told me.
I kept driving. And the homie that was with me was telling me where to go. Because I wasn't fucking stopping. Fuck that.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I've seen stuff in elementary. Well, like a lot of it is in Mesilla.
Yeah, Messilla's really fucked up.
So my brother used to work at this restaurant called Cafe Don Felix, and it was owned by different owners at the time. And we were having dinner, and I was just sitting out back, waiting for my parents to come outside. And the ditch is right there. Mm-hmm. And there was this lady walking her dog. Like, there's a few trees there and a house maybe down the road. She's walking through the trees with this dog, and it's getting closer to the ditch, and I'm like looking around because no one else is outside, and I'm watching her walk. She gets up to the ditch and she's just like looking around, and I'm like, what is she looking for? And I turn, and then she starts walking this way, and I look down and I'm like, shit, like I don't know who this person is. Like I just got a weird vibe, and I looked back up and she was gone. A lot of the time I see like small figures, which I think are kids, a lot of them, but a lot of the stuff I see are like female figures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very small, slender.
Yeah,
just creepy shit.
Yeah, I just get weird feelings. No,
I'm not doing this.
Dear God.
I'm not talking to any of you over there.
When I was little, I don't have any recollection of this because you don't have fucking memory of that time when you were young. But my mom tells me a story. And it was when I was little, kind of crawling around. I don't think I could walk yet. Still like crawling and shit. And they had this really long, like, full-length mirror in the hallway. And she said I would crawl up to it and then pat it and laugh like I was playing with somebody. My mom looked in the mirror, and it was this super old, like, not Victorian era, but like 1900s nightgown wearing lady. And she was bent down and playing with me. And then in that house, my mom would be giving me a bath. The lady would come into the bathroom, just look over my mom's shoulder and stare at me.
What the heck?
And then one time, my mom was playing with me when she was changing me. And the lady did the same thing, but she started to cry that time. And then after that, she kind of went away, as far as I know. I don't know if there's any more experiences with that lady when I was a baby. Mm-hmm. But that happened.
It's crazy, and your mom would see it?
And my mom would see it.
It's terrifying. There's some shit that's happened like as a child too. Like it's not that I can't really like see shit, but there's always a sense of always something. You can always feel the woo feeling like around you, and that's like the best way that I can explain it is that if there's something bad or something good about to happen, you know, people are like I trust my gut. And when they don't trust their gut, then something shitty is about to happen. But for some reason, it feels like there's always like you can sense that like if there's an area that's like this is peaceful, this is calm, this isn't going to fuck you over whenever you go here at night or during the day. But you go to some places like Stamens, or you go someplace like just where you're not used to being, where you've never really been to. I have a belief that like the spirits and shit that are there, whether they're human spirits or non-human spirits, that the spirits that are there when you go to a place that is not your home, like your hometown, your home city or whatnot, and it's dark, and you're not engulfed in all the other fun shit that's happening, but say you go out into the middle of nowhere in New York, whatever's there isn't going to recognize your soul, your spirit, you as a person, and they're going to try to attach or try to do something to you to get familiarized with who you are if you have such a big energy and that type of thing. And I've had it happen here in New Mexico specifically. I've got finally like there's comfortability here in Cruces, and there's comfortability in other places like Socorro where I'm from, because like that's such a small town, everybody knows everybody, so there's not really any big bad shit that happens to a person who is from there. But people outside of there, they're like, no, I don't want to go back because the graveyard's very active, the cemetery's very active, the church is very active. There's shit that's all over the place. You go up and down the ditch banks and you see shit left and right, and it's like they don't bother really any of the people that are there. They don't talk about it. That's because they don't need to worry about them. They know that those people are fine. That type of shit. It's crazy how that's just one of the beliefs that I have, is that when you're in somewhere where you're not used to being, they want to attract themselves to you and try to figure out what it is that you are and who you are and what you do and what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to me. Really scary too. In terms of the supernatural.
I think there's familiar spirits. I don't believe in like, oh, my grandma's here, she's watching over me. Like, I believe if you go to heaven or you go to hell, like you're in one of those places. I believe that there's like familiar spirits where things might feel like it, but it's not that actual person. Like a sense or a feeling of what you would get when you were with, I feel like God meets you in places regardless of where you're at, and some people need like that familiarity to get through grief and stuff. I knew someone who husband had committed suicide, and she had mentioned like we never used to get white butterflies, the white small butterflies around our house until after he passed. Now they just show up, and I feel like that's him and everything. I don't necessarily that he would come back as a butterfly, but I feel like things are sent, things are there to bring comfort, and if that's what that person needs, but I think it is very dangerous. That's kind of why I'm hesitant with scary movies and scary stuff that I watch. And it's not so much like during the day or when I'm awake, but when I'm asleep, that's when my mind just goes off. And because my dreams are so vivid, I can't fuck with that shit because I know it's real, and then my dream feels so real that it just fucks my whole day up. And I'm like, this sucks.
There's some shit, like dreams are weird, man. Dreams, I think, there's the scientific side of dreams, and then there's like the spiritual side of dreams. And I think there's two different things. There's one where I don't think a lot of the scientists can actually unlock and figure out, which is the communication with the people that are already gone. And I've had it happen. I've had the same dream that 3 other people in my family had all in the same night when something had happened. and we all talked about it. We're just like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Not that it was the exact same dream, but the same premise of dream had happened all at the same time, because each person has to interpret it their own way.
Yeah.
And the way that that thing has to happen and has to be displayed to said people has to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are going to have a little bit more intricate. Some people are going to have a little bit more blunt. Other people are going to have a little bit more, I guess, easy to digest.
Yeah.
Because they can't handle a lot of that type of information. And I get that. But I've also had like weird dreams where I'm just like flying through the fucking air and there's nothing below me and there's nothing above me and it feels like it's endless. And then you wake up because it feels like you just fell.
Yeah.
Like you just hit the ground and you're just like, why am I just jerked awake at 4 o'clock in the goddamn morning out of nowhere? And it feels like, and then you read up on it and then they tell you that it's because your heart rate got a little too calm. So your body has to jerk you awake to make sure that you're not dead.
Yeah.
So that's some cool shit. Like your body's, going into the whole scientific thing, your body's a really cool temple of just really interesting sciencey shit that it does to make sure that you're not dying.
Right.
Yeah.
Like in your sleep and stuff like that. And spirits, I feel like they can visit you while you're sleeping. And that's where you're your most pure in terms of soul and all that stuff. So
as far as like lore and everything goes, if you were like a fucking demon fighter, whatever, what's the one spirit that you would not want to tangle with from any kind of lore?
For any kind of lore, I
Yeah.
don't. That's difficult to say.
Like Christian lore, Gaelic lore, whatever, any kind of spirit. There's like the one job where you'd be like, nah, fuck that. That's not my job.
Native American, like just in general,
Like those,
like the all the bad shit that they have, yeah, because they're being able, having Native American like blood in our families, in my families, both sides, my dad's and my mom's. It's that scary part where you're just like, shit, like they can do some fucked up shit. The stories, and then seeing people how they react to those stories, they have to be real. There has to be some sort of truth to that story to make them feel the way that they feel. Yeah. And skinwalkers are no fun. In general,
every legend is based in truth.
Well, for the most part.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, we live in a spiritual world. Like, if people want to talk about realms, people want to believe in, like, you know, your auras and stuff like that. Like, regardless of what you call it, it's like
an energy world.
Either we don't see it, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, the Native Americans are pretty crazy. My sister's from, she's Mescalero. I guess there's
Mescalero Apache.
I thought it was Navajo and Apache.
Mescalero Apache.
Okay.
They get pissed if you call them Navajo.
Okay.
Oh, so they're Apache.
Well, because her
I learned that the hard way.
Well, you know what's so weird? And it's because her husband is half Navajo and Apache, which is kind of like what the fuck is wrong with your family?
It's like a no-no.
It's super taboo.
It's the native version of that fucking family. Was it the Hatfield McCoy?
Yeah. Let's just make a disclaimer. We're not saying anything bad about anybody's background in any way, shape, or form.
It's just,
that's how a lot of cultures are different, and that's just how they are.
Yeah. And it's still kind of prevalent like today.
Yeah.
Like in today's society, they're still like, no, we don't. Fuck them. No.
Like that's disrespectful if you do this, but like it's crazy because he speaks both. He speaks Navajo and Apache, but they talk about like curses and stuff, how they can curse people, or how my sister had put like you're supposed to put like claws, like either eagle claws or feathers or something like that at your door. And it's supposed to cast away evil spirits. So if someone is there for like to curse you or like for bad spirits and stuff like that, like it's supposed to send them away. And she's like, you know, I've had weird visits from people that I would never talk to, that would never come to my house. They're in my porch. As soon as I open the door, they try to take a step closer. They're just like, I'm sorry, I have to leave. She's like, I won't say anything, I won't do anything, and they just go.
There's something about symbology that's really crazy because.
And then you're like, I saw Bigfoot. What the fuck?
Exactly. I think there's shit out there in the world that we just haven't been able to find because they don't want us to find it yet. And that's kind of one of the things that I like about the whole aspect of religion in general, is that I don't believe that the creation of the human man was just snap, there you are, poof, we just exist on the planet. I think that there was still an evolution of people being brought into from one thing to the human that we are today. And religion was an unlocking of that when said higher power had stated that we're ready to do it, that our brains can handle it. So like the Big Bang that they talk about, how that's a big theory about how the whole universe, or the whole, like, even just the solar system had started, most of the universe, that it was a snap and it was out of pretty much nothingness. I think that that's when a higher power had stated, God, if you want to call him that, or Allah, or whatever you want to call it, because we don't know if it's male or female, had stated, creation has been born, and here's the light of the universe. And then everything over the course of time had started to evolve, and it was kind of left to go. And then when humans became, Homo sapiens, and they started displaying tribal type burials where they're putting flowers and they're making sure that these people are, like, they're mourning their dead a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Instead of just, oh, that's one of the young gone, okay, let's move on, like some other animals do. We unlocked a spiritual side of ourselves because we're ready to unlock that spiritual side of ourselves, and it could be because people have eaten, shrooms or poisonous berries, or they could try to say all this other weird shit, but I don't think that's actually what happened. It could be, I believe, this is just a personal belief, where it starts forgotten about, we were remembered because they're on the right track, and those particular humans go, there's something more to these people. They had a personality, they have a memory that is going to be talked about for multiple generations and things like that. And then it was unlocked for the birth of religions and the birth of different cultures. Yeah. So each culture, despite being completely different, all have similarities. Yeah. Which I find really fucking interesting. Because there's Christianity, there's Islam, there's Judaism as three major religions, but you also have your Buddhist beliefs, you have your Chinese, different beliefs that they have and stuff like that, but every single one has some sort of similarity. Yeah. For each different type, your Native American beliefs, all in all, have similar beliefs, despite being different cultures. Yeah. Which I think is really cool and really interesting. So are we all connected, or are we all trying to make a divide in terms of spirituality?
I think at one point we were connected, and I think it was all just one, and I think people just were
bitches,
kind of fucking it up. Like they weren't respecting what it should have been, and they were turning against each other, and it's like, look, like, this is how it was supposed to be, and you guys fucked up, so here, I'm gonna split all of you. You guys want to think your ideas are great? Well, here, have all your ideas. Let's see how this goes. Kind of thing. I claim Christianity. But, I mean, there's different types of it. I think people will always have different perspectives. But I think there's beauty in everything. I think there's beauty in all religions. I might not agree with a lot of it, and I might not understand it, but that just doesn't speak to my soul. It doesn't speak to my heart. And at the end of the day, if I'm happy and I'm living a life and I'm taking care of myself, then I think that's fine. I will respect you. I think differently, and I will share what I think. I don't know. I'll never hate you for what you believe in. I might not agree, but I always love to learn. I always love to, keep an open mind, but I think I have to stay strong in what I believe in, because shit like ghosts and hauntings and stuff like that, I would have been possessed 10 years ago. I would have been fucked with a long time ago.
I've had that. I don't know. It's weird. I grew up Catholic, and then now it's more of an agnostic feeling, because I feel like everybody is completely free to believe whatever it is they want to believe. There has to be something larger than us, but I can't say that it is specifically God. I can't say that it's specifically this name or that name or this name. I won't be a Scientologist, because that's possibly not going to be something that I can believe in. I can't believe that aliens impregnated other apes on the planet and then created a whole new species. That can't happen for me. Aliens, on the other hand, I believe do exist somewhere out there.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah, we can't be the only life out there in this galaxy, universe, or
Thing,
whatever.
Whatever,
You know what
this
I mean?
globe of bullshit that we have to all deal
they,
with.
they found signs of life on different planets.
Yeah.
And shit could have just gotten fucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
maybe that's where it started. It wasn't like a big bang. We lived on a different
hopped.
planet, and it blew up, and we're like, oh man, we made it safe. Like,
that's actually like a scientific theory, is that like the way life began on Earth is because Earth is in the Goldilocks zone of the solar system, and they found other planets bigger and smaller in their Goldilocks zone, which means that it's inhabitable for life based, like just life, carbon-based life forms like us.
yeah.
And meteor had bacteria inside of ice, water, and it was elsewhere, hit the planet when shit started to heat up and cool, steam, stuff like that, and then life started beginning. That's how they think that life started on the planet in terms of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to me to think that there's a planet in the middle of a solar system with like 6 other other planets that are in like behind us, and then there's more in front of us, and they all protect the Earth, specifically the Earth. Like the planet Jupiter is huge. It protects us from other things in the fucking space.
Yeah.
In
like
space.
Meteors, asteroids, and shit, and it just sucks them in. Just like, nope, taking that, mine, just sucking that right in. We have a big gravitational pull. Just come on over. It just tells the meteors and the asteroids just to come in this way. We have a runway for you.
I don't know why people get so worked up about how we started. Like, regardless of what you say or what you think, no one can actually prove it because no one was actually there. It's all going to be theories. It's all going to be myths. It's all going to be like, well, it's a possibility. Well, that's cool. But,
it's a possibility. It's not a fact.
Yeah, right. I rather focus on, in the future, because of the way this planet is and this, like, 20, 30 years, we might see a plant grow on Mars. Like, we might find, like, vegetables and shit in space. Or you just see an eggplant.
Space cucumber. That would be fucking weird.
Space cucumber?
Space cucumber.
Space umber.
Space umber.
There you go.
Fucking A.
I see where you're coming
Cunace.
from. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. Like, I just...
Don't worry about where it started, but worry about where our end destination's gonna go.
Yeah.
I get you. That's cool too, but I think there's a lot of people that are like, I need to know what we came from. But there's also other people that would say, I don't want to impede on your beliefs, but we don't know if any of that is fact either. Yeah. Because there's no proof for that either. So there's a double-edged sword for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the way I see it, I don't give a shit what you believe because I don't think there is any one ultimate right religion. I think each religion is just designed for the people who connect with that. Like, whatever religion is good for you, that's your religion. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Just don't be a shitty pube.
Don't be a shitty person.
Don't be a shitty pube. That's what.
Don't be a shit pube either.
Yeah, that's
right. Or a sweaty one.
That too. Don't be a sweaty pube.
I don't give a shit.
It's
true.
Pube.
Because I mean, there's people who claim Satanism and Luciferianism and things like that, and very quick description: Satanism isn't necessarily the belief in Satan specifically. The reason why Satanism was started was because atheist groups didn't want the religious zealots in terms of Christianity, Islam, the big major religions, to take over governments and to tell them how they can live their life. It shouldn't be the 10 Commandments that tells me how to live my life. If you're going to do that, then we're going to do that, and we're going to make our own 10 Commandments. You cannot buy your wife, you cannot beat your wife, you cannot rape your wife, you cannot rape, you cannot kill children. Like, they have eye for an eye. You do this, we do it back to you. So they're kind of like, we have control of who we are as people. This is our...
Yeah.
They're their own...
They're their own higher power.
And that's what
that's
America's supposed to be, right? Like
freedom of religion.
hey, you have your own ideas, you have your own stuff here.
Yeah. I love.
See
That's
how
it's
it
supposed to be. It's supposed to be a separation of church and state, which is why I think it's fucking stupid. There's always the religious debate on certain issues, like abortion and stuff like that, where it shouldn't be that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't want one, don't get one.
Yeah, you should let other people who do have a need to get one.
Yeah. But they also shouldn't force it on religious hospitals either. I mean, you can't sit there and be like, oh, you can't tell me that I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. And it's like, well, you can't tell me that either then.
Yeah.
Like, you're sitting here forcing me to perform these procedures that I don't agree with for my own personal beliefs. Or, like, we built our hospital off of a Catholicism base, and now you're telling me that I have to perform these things when we don't want to. Mm-hmm. And then we tell you shouldn't, and you're like, well, you shouldn't tell me what to do. You're telling me what to do. Like, if you want it equal, then make it equal.
Yeah. It should be equal. That. It should be completely equal, and like I said, it just pisses me off when there's always, if it's Christian, Jewish, whatever, I don't give a shit. But politics should be politics where you want to do this, do that, whatever. Your religious belief should impede the amount of votes you get, how popular you are. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't fucking matter at all. But that's not what this country was based off of. Could be, what
I mean? Now it's all based off of how much shit you can talk.
Even back then, they were all just...
You're right.
They weren't even Christians. They were Masons.
Yeah.
Every founding father was a Mason.
Yeah. They all didn't want... that's the weird thing, too, is that there's documentation. And this is I mean, I get the whole idea of religion. I get the whole idea of everything. And you having your own personal beliefs. And I get where Howie's coming from based on the facts specifically. Is if we have the freedom to say yes or no. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be, you have to do this because federal law tells you that you have to do this. It should be, the federal law says you can or cannot do this because you choose to do this. That's the whole thing. That's what I agree with. I agree with there being... I'm more of a libertarian in terms of politics, so it's like, let everybody have whatever the fuck they want to do within boundaries. Yeah. Be courteous to other fucking people.
Exactly.
Don't burn down someone's mosque or church or fucking, temple just because you disagree with their religious beliefs. That's not your choice.
Yeah.
Your choice is to go be your Christian, your Jew, your Muslim somewhere else where you feel comfortable within your people and where you're accepted. Those cultures are different. And that's what the whole point of the United States is that we have different cultures. We're a mixing pot. We have different people, skin colors, things that are all different about us. Everybody should be able to walk freely on the street and not feel like they're being attacked because they're anything from straight to, as stupid as it is, claiming that they're an attack helicopter as a fucking gender. Fuck it. You're not hurting anybody. Just go do what you need to do and go away. But if a person chooses to go and have an abortion, they should have the choice to go get an abortion.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be
ridiculed.
Demonized and shit over it.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. There's so many points to it. Some people bring up, how they got pregnant, rapes and stuff like that. Yeah. There's been stories where women chose to keep the baby from their, situation that happened. And there's a Christian article, actually, of this woman, and she was like, my child was the one who saved me. If I didn't keep my baby, if I didn't keep her, I would have lost my shit. I would have lost everything that I was. I wouldn't have found myself. But she showed me that it was okay, that even though it was terrible, I got this blessing out of it. I got my best friend, someone I could take care of and watch, and it was actually kind of beautiful. And I mean, I think it is a huge decision to make. It's not something that you should just do off of a whim. But I understand if some people can't deal with it. I understand if some people can. I just feel like, hey, you have options. But I do think there should be a time when you shouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
not super late term abortions.
No.
Jeez, but it starts so early when it starts to form, and it's just so hard because you go to other planets and stuff, and there's a cell, and they're like, we found life, and then you have a heartbeat and you're telling me that's not life. Like, just...
There's a difference, I think. I think they're talking about life in terms of the actual general idea of what an organism is that has cells that are
what
multiplying.
A living thing is.
Yeah, what a living thing is, and then, but there's also our psychological bounds that we can understand in terms of at what point is a baby where it has a personality, where it has those types of things, and it kind of gets crazy whenever it comes down to the science behind it. If it's within the first it's attaching and it's still an egg and it's barely forming, and it's a zygote where you can't tell that it looks just like every other embryo on the face of the planet, because that's a fucking weird thing that I've noticed, is that an elephant embryo at the same age looks exactly the same as a human embryo, that looks exactly like a zebra, that looks like a dog, like a cat, like a horse, like a pig, and everything at that point in time all look the exact fucking same. Yeah. That is a connection between all of us as a species, and that blows my mind. There's other species that they can turn their own child when they feel like they need to. And that's fucking intense to me. Why are we having to have a law set in place that says I can't do this? I don't have the actual income, the time, the resources, the help. There's a lot of other factors that fall into it. Granted, a rape case like the one you're talking about, they can feel safe from it. That's cool. No hate on that.
Yeah.
But there's a large number of people that go, I can't give this kid up. I don't want this kid to go into an adoption, go get put up for adoption, because look at the number of children that are still being waiting to become adopted.
Yeah. And then it's expensive, and it's all these steps you have to go through, and it's all these background checks and all these meetings and all this shit. They have to make other options so difficult, and it's for what?
And that's my only argument. If they have a choice, they should have it. Yeah. They should be able to make that choice. And if they're going to be thinking about it on and off and on, mostly on, all the time since they had that particular thought. Should I get an abortion? And that's something that's terrifying to someone, because what if that kid could have been a specific, could have been the next person who found the cure for AIDS, or found the cure for cancer, or found the cure for some other crazy disease, or found a way to rewrite DNA properly to make sure that the kid doesn't get Down syndrome or an extra
it's crazy the same as saying, what if they end up being a serial killer?
Exactly.
What if they end up doing the same thing that was done to me? What if they're disrespectful? What if they have no emotion? Exactly. What if they have no tie to how people feel? What if they become a bomber?
But when you bring that up,
it's always what ifs. There's all these what ifs.
Is that what if? But when you bring up the negative what ifs in that conversation, they're always like, them be a better parent. That's their answer, is be a better parent.
But then, what if I didn't choose to be a parent?
Exactly.
I mean, people are
no matter how good of a parent you're gonna be, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. If your kid's gonna be a serial killer, your kid's gonna be a fucking serial killer.
It's the same thing as if they were born gay.
Exactly.
If they're gonna be gay,
how
they're
their
gonna be
fucking
gay.
shit
They're wired.
is wired in their brain.
Exactly. And we all start as female and then turn into either male or stay as female.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it goes. That's how it goes for all species, and that's fucking crazy. But anyway, going back to the whole thing, is you've seen Orange is the New Black? Yeah. At least you've seen it all. I've seen at least the first season.
I haven't seen the last season because we were supposed to watch it together, and then you ignored me for fucking 2 months.
You stayed anyway, that doesn't matter. Yes, I did. I went to work and did shit, and I was busy. But have you seen any of Orange is the New Black?
No.
Okay, well, there's a whole talk in the first season, I think it is, first or second season, where, who's the butch chick?
Boo.
Boo, yes. Her, she's like, so did you ever, there's a book that came out during the 90s where they were dealing with the whole, before, where back in the 70s, I think is what it was the Supreme Court case of Roe v. Wade, and how it gave people in the United States the ability to say that it's their choice to get a fucking abortion, that it's not technically murder at a certain time frame.
Yeah.
And they did another study that the kids that would have been born that were aborted in the 1970s, that correlates directly with the amount of crime that had happened in the 90s, just 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 90s, the crime rates dropped because it wasn't that these kids were being born to unfit parents. Those kids were not born to people who didn't give a shit about them in the first place. They weren't put in orphanages. Orphanages went down in population. Whole bunch of shit changed. And then in the 2000s is when people started riling up again to go, we don't need this to be a thing. And crime starts to rise again because people are afraid to get those abortions.
Yeah.
So they saw a decline in crime. They saw a decline in orphanages and population. They saw a decline in a whole bunch of other crazy shit. And they go, so what's the correlation? You let these people who are proclaiming themselves as unfit parents, proclaiming themselves to not be ready to have children, aborting their children or aborting that child at the time that it is proper, I would say within the first 2 months, 3 months of pregnancy.
Yeah.
I think it's the first trimester.
The first trimester is the best because
I think that after the first trimester you can't.
yeah, so that's fine. I get that.
I think.
If and then after that, it gets a little weird.
Yeah, some after.
There's late term abortions, which is in the 6th month, like in the second trimester.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with late term abortions. I don't agree with second or third trimester abortions because that's just fucked up. Like the baby is going to be able to live if it's in its like second trimester.
Well, I mean, you basically at that point you're literally suctioning.
Yeah.
You get a suctioner and
It's a
just
vacuum.
tears apart limb from limb.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a doctor actually who did my surgery about 4 years ago, and he used to do abortions, and he has a whole video about how
I heard it varies from state to state, so that's a thing.
It should fit.
yeah.
Whole video, and it's a gruesome thing, and I get it.
I don't know.
But at an earlier stage in the pregnancy, that's all I prefer. It's your choice though. You should be able to understand as a person that where it's going to put you psychologically. You're going to have to understand as a person where it's going to put you in terms of how your family is going to see you if you have a family.
Yeah.
And if you have you have a list of just this is all shit and I can't do this, where you don't have a support group at home. You don't have a significant other that is willing to deal with it.
Yeah.
You don't have a family, you don't have friends, all these just really bad, sad shit that can go on, like no community whatsoever for you as a person. You should be able to do that if you need to not have that extra burden.
And I think people should have support groups and stuff like that too, you know, because I mean, even if it is a decision that you've made and you're like, no, it was the right decision and that's what I wanted to do. I think some women even feel shameful afterwards. They have, you know, they feel terrible.
Terrible is a perfect word.
They feel terrible, and it's like, look, we've all made decisions we regret, and you can't hold on to those. You can't let those dictate who you are, where you're gonna move forward, because then, I don't know, life is gonna suck after that, and having conversations with people is gonna suck, and if someone else is going through the same thing or needing advice, you know, and you're sitting there like, well, I feel like shit, you know, you shouldn't feel like that. You shouldn't feel shameful. You shouldn't feel like you're a terrible person.
Yeah,
exactly.
You made a decision and it wasn't an easy one, and that's okay.
But it's also crazy to me where people are like, they feel like there's a difference. Like there's a major difference between having a miscarriage and having an abortion.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Womb goof.
Yeah, womb goof. People that feel shame after having their abortion, I get it sucks. But people also feel the same way after they see it as a blessing in some weird ways, where they're like, I wasn't meant to have a child type of thing whenever they have a miscarriage. And I find that so fucking weird because they're just like, I didn't choose to abort it. My body chose to abort it type of shit. And it's like, that's fucking weird. You still don't have a child. And that's a sad thing to happen regardless. But and then there's chronic aborters. That shit needs to stop. Stop fucking or get your tubes tied.
Yeah.
Simple.
I mean, come on. How many times do you need?
Exactly.
But I mean, and then you start to go into 2 or 3 times and it becomes harmful for your body.
Exactly.
It becomes bad for yourself. And it's like, look, we need to think of your health. Like,
Exactly.
it's not just getting rid of this body, it's what you're doing to your own body.
And that all kind of ties into like other religious beliefs and things like that. There's awful shit that religions do after the child is born and after a person is born.
Yeah.
That it gets fucking crazy where they like throw kids off of a building that's
Sparta.
like, yeah, they throw kids off of a building and they see if they live being caught. Like if they don't, the gods wanted him. Like that's some crazy shit. Like there's some crazy
shit. If the baby
shit.
wasn't perfect, they would cast him off a fucking cliff.
Yep. And then there's just a pile of bones where
you're not good. Out of here.
Yep, you're not perfect, but
it made them kind of a beast military. Just throwing that out there.
300 people, yeah. Sure. Aliens, though, there's been talk about alien. We're gonna go back to the aliens conversation in space.
Yeah, that was a crazy wormhole.
Like, we went down a wormhole of just abortion. And it got really dark and deep, and we actually didn't get mad at each other in an abortion conversation, so that was a plus.
Yeah. We're proof that it can happen. It can happen.
We can have a debate and not be angry.
But aliens are fucking real.
Aliens are one of my favorite subjects because, like, I have a fucking weird irrational fear of shit in space, except for aliens. And, like...
Aren't you scared of wandering black holes?
Yeah, that was one thing, but that's why I'm saying, like, scary shit in space, that scares me. I thought he was judging me over there.
He is, just silently.
Yeah, he will, later.
You know, you do have $1 input.
You haven't used your dollar yet this episode.
You don't want my input on this episode.
Yes, we do.
This is literally the
yes.
$1 that he spent, that's it. But you don't want to have my input. Aliens, man. I hope they're cool with us because we're a shit species in the grand scheme of things.
They're not gonna be.
What if we are aliens and it's kind of like that
Dude,
Avatar shit
like
and we're all just like in a fucking like tube thing? We're just living a virtual world right now.
Like, we can't handle people from other nations. We're not gonna handle people from fucking space any differently.
But do you understand how
like
fucking
we're gonna
weird...
see the ship and then we're gonna be like nuke them.
Space Force.
We're not even gonna talk to them. We're like nuke them. Fuck that.
Space Force. That's like the one thing that Trump did that's actually okay. That and the music bill that he signed. That was like people have rights to have to their music and shit. But Space Force.
Space Force.
And aliens. I think humans are weird though because humans go nation to nation. We're all fucking your shit, and then the other nation goes no your shit, and then it comes to aliens or something big that happens, and we all come together. We're like we're all fucking human. And we all hold hands.
We're all shit.
We're all shit, but fuck that shit.
Yeah, we're all shit, but like, let's put our differences
That's a new
aside.
shit. That's a new kind of shit we're not prepared for.
What's that alien movie that had all the egg ships with the tentacle monsters?
War of the Worlds.
No.
Chicken Little.
No. The one that we watched that had the fucking coffee rings for language.
Oh, the coffee rings?
Chicken Little did have ships like that.
What the fuck was that movie called? It was such a good movie.
I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, it was super, like, in-depth about how, as people, we would probably attack first instead of trying to communicate. And trying to figure out what the fuck's happening.
Oh, fuck yeah.
What was that movie? Shit. It had, the bitch who plays, Lois Lane, and it had fucking Hawkeye. Jeremy Renner.
I think it's those aliens, like the fourth kind.
Help me.
Like they're gonna like a possession kind of thing. Like they're just so far ahead of us that it's borderline hauntings and like spiritual stuff. Like they make you think it is, but they're just like fucking with us.
Let's just go cruise around a cornfield and get abducted, and they'll put things in John's butt.
No.
You'll like it.
No, I won't. I won't like it at all. Arrival.
Movie.
That was a fun movie. I can't believe I forgot that, but that was a cool. Have you seen it?
No.
You haven't seen it? Watch it.
Check
It's
it out.
not scary at all in any capacity. It talks about like timelines and shit, and how like humans are weird, and how we all just fucking attack at first, and then it took 2 Americans to like talk to the aliens and try to figure out a communication over months and months and months of research, and it was a linguistics person and a person who's a scientist, and they try to figure out a way to talk to them, and then they finally talk to them, and they go, language is like the base, like communication is the base of all things that need to happen, so once you can communicate, you can figure out how to solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I watched it was very inspirational. It was kind of cool.
What are you doing with that chair?
That's a stool.
Stool, sorry. Anyway.
Chairs have backs.
Aliens are cool, man.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Spirits are scary.
Spirits are scary.
Or really cool.
Going backwards to the conversation, so no native shit for you. You never answered my question. Which spirit would you not want to fight?
No.
Like if you weren't a bitch and actually did fight the spirits.
Did you just call me a bitch?
I did.
In the fear, like, I'm afraid of shit sense.
Like me, we banshees. Fuck those things.
Banshees.
They're like Gaelic spirits, and they fucking scream at you. And if you hear their scream, you're marked for death. And that's pretty much what they do. They scream, and then they kill you. And they can follow you from wherever the fuck you go. If you're marked.
That sounds terrifying.
But not because it's like creepy. It's because I'd be fucking annoyed from the screaming. I'd be too goddamn annoyed.
You'd probably just stand there and let them take you out.
Like, fuck it, do it, dude. I'm tired of hearing your shit.
I don't want to hear it anymore.
Technically, this isn't suicide, so I win. Come on.
If I could just pray you away and like just block my heart and my mind, then I'm fine.
You're a support class.
Anything outside of that, fuck all of you. Like, leave me the fuck alone.
So like on the chessboard, you're one of the pawns that just kind of just, please don't touch me, please don't touch me, please don't touch me, please don't touch me.
I'm just defense. Can you
And
please leave me alone?
You get moved forward, and it was like, fuck, you touched me, you moved me.
God damn it, they're going right for me. Going right for me. Yeah, that sucks.
Right.
There's the whole, like, I mentioned it just briefly, but symbolism in general. And like a lot of that shit, Native Americans are very big on symbolism. And like
symbolism.
And symbols, and it's really cool because, well, it's cool and scary because apparently snakes, for some,
like super bad,
are super horrible.
Yeah.
And
natives.
I knew a guy in high school who was native, like full blood native, and he couldn't go into one of the restaurants because they have these like artistic, like tapestries basically. They look like carpets that are encased in glass, and he couldn't go in there because some of them had snake designs on there. He goes, I can't go into that restaurant. You can't go at all because it's there.
And owls, you can't look into their eyes.
Yeah.
I'm a really shitty person because when I was in middle school. Yeah, I was in middle school, and me and my brother chased around our little native friend Troy with a snake because he wouldn't touch it, so we chased him with it. It was a little garter snake.
My dad's chased me with a raccoon tail.
Just the tail?
Well, yeah, it was cut off, and he just like chased me around with it. I cried the whole time.
From a tail?
Yeah, I cried. I was terrified. And then my dad's all, no, I got rid of it. And later I went outside to go hang out with Rudiger. And I'm all, Rudy, and I call him, and he comes running up, and he has that fucking fuzzy thing flopping out of his mouth. I booked it back inside.
Why are you terrified of a tail?
Because it's disgusting. I don't know. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to look at it.
You couldn't wear a coonskin cap?
If it was fake.
They're mostly not.
Are you still scared of like a raccoon? Like if I had a raccoon tail in my hand right now, would you be terrified?
I would probably still cry.
Hey Daniel, we need raccoon tails.
No.
We do.
I can't allow that.
We need this. We need these tools in our lives.
But yeah, this was there's a lot of crazy shit out there.
Yeah.
Spiritually, physically, mentally, people, aliens. We didn't really get to talk about aliens really all that much. We could probably do that for the next one.
Next time, we'll go space.
I do believe people get abducted.
I do too.
But somewhat. I swear, I really believe like the Fourth Kind, that movie, like those kind of aliens, like it kind of makes you think like, oh, well maybe it is spiritual, maybe I am just being possessed, like, so you can't tell the difference, like they're fucking with us because they're like, no, you can't know yet, but we're here and we're fucking with you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Are you ready for us? No.
Better than the Signs aliens because they can open fucking doors.
True.
I fucking hate that movie just because they can't open doors.
And they're allergic to water.
They can fly through space, they can shoot lasers, they can camouflage themselves, but they can't open a fucking door.
And they're
but the thing is if they are out there, then why would their number one thing be to kill us?
It's not to kill us, it's to take our resources. The same reason why we invade other countries. Is to take their resources.
Yeah. What, the water that they can't use?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the resources, because we might have something that they don't have.
They needed our corn, that's what's up with all those designs.
Well, those are fake, but... You're wrong and those are fake. I'm just kidding. But
pyramids, aliens, that's what they did.
I believe in the mummy. That kind of shit.
Really?
Like Egyptian curses?
Yeah, Egyptian curses. I think those are real.
That's like the furthest from Christian beliefs ever.
Why?
Because they're not Christian beliefs at all.
No, but it's all spiritual stuff. Kind of like, hey, you do some bad shit, you get in the wrong shit, things are gonna happen. You're gonna have bugs fucking crawling in your skin. You're gonna, you know what I mean? It was just way more intense back then.
Yeah, but they also were all brainwashed pretty easily.
Yeah.
They didn't have the resources and the science to prove that things like that could not happen.
Yeah. People
they
are
had
very...
aliens. They had aliens helping them, man.
People in a big group are extremely easy to persuade and manipulate.
Hence our presidential election.
I mean, people, you know...
It's true. Yeah. Humans are stupid, but really smart at the same time. That's pretty much what it boils down to.
Like, they're so smart, they're stupid.
Yeah, they're too smart for their own good. It's kind of like a kid in your class who's like super fucking smart, all by the book, knows every fucking thing in that book, and those like and all things that he was ever taught and remember. Like Sheldon. Yeah. That's why I hate Sheldon as a character in fucking Big Bang Theory. Is because he is such a smart motherfucker that he's too smart for his own good, and his social inadequacies piss me off. I don't understand.
He doesn't know how to human?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't know how to fucking be a person.
He learns how to be a person.
Eventually, but it takes him so goddamn long.
Yeah.
And either you're really sociable and like you really know how to like talk to people and stuff, and then you're not book smart. Like there's no balance. There's no balance.
I feel like I have a balance. I'm not that stupid.
Anyway. Hey, there's the dollar.
I mean,
we got an and.
You got an and, but I mean, I'm not.
I thought of a really stupid fucking joke nickname to give Daniel too.
What now?
Okay, KKK. So you know, like Miles.
KKK. That's
like Miles and shit, right?
Is it because we're brown?
You fuck up Miles and you say Mills, right? You say Mills. He is $1 Bill Mills.
$1 Bill Mills.
That's
weak.
It's really
weak sauce.
It's really weak and really dumb.
Stretch.
Yeah, that's been on my brain since we got here. I was like, I need to say it, but it's fucking stupid. I don't want to say it. And now I said it.
And now it's recorded.
Yeah, it's recorded. And I know it's dumb.
I don't know. I feel like I have a decent balance between social and smart.
I'm awkward. I don't always know how to talk. No, I even sometimes forget how to breathe.
How do you forget how to breathe?
I don't know. I'll just like relax, or I won't be paying attention, and my breathing will just, you know, like how you sleep. I guess your breathing just kind of slows down. I'll just randomly have to take deep breaths because I wasn't breathing previously, and I'll start to like feel myself passing out.
Hella fucking entertaining. Sitting there watching Netflix series, and all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Why are you turning purple?
He's like, are you mad? No. Why are you breathing so heavy? Because I need oxygen.
I've done that like once or twice. But like it's more like I'm like my breathing gets really low.
Oh god.
Where like you get to the
thing you've ever told me.
And then you just you have to take a couple of deep breaths. So is this meeting adjourned?
I think so.
We're calling the episode.
Calling it episode 2. Not a pilot.
Not a pilot. This is episode 2. We got greenlit for a season.
Yeah, we're gonna greenlight our own season. Fuck everybody else.
That's kind of what the thing was.
Oh.
All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Laters.